docket, sir. So please, what would you like to speak of?
Oh, I was
Transition, Chris.
just talking about business in general, just emotions and business and
Emotions in
emotions.
business.
Uh,
Oh,
like
okay.
rules of
Uh,
engagement.
yeah, rules of engagement, I guess. Um, just basically this. I don't know. I guess with business, like you need a team because not everybody is capable of doing everything. And I think that's like one of the bigger things I've learned is everyone plays a role in what they're doing and how they do it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like with that team, it's like you have to have things. You have to tell people what's going on, and you have to be open and vocal about it. Because if you're not, it's gonna explode because you have one person that's feeling some type of way, or you know, they may not say something, and
Right.
just they tear down the rest of the business because they feel some type of way about it, or they don't want to see someone like certain people win. Uh, Shit like that. I don't know. The biggest thing I've ever seen is like your own friends. Like me and Liz were looking at Facebook, right? And because she doesn't know half her followers, she gets more likes because they don't know who she is. They just
Hmm.
like the picture and like it. But because people know who you are, they choose not to like it, or they choose to figure out what you're doing. Or if you're doing something really, really good, they go, well, he's only doing that because of X, or she's only doing that because of Y. And it's always a, fuck them type feeling about that person. And I was like, I never noticed that till Liz was like,
Right.
yeah. She's like, I don't know half the people in my like that I follow, but they all like my shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Well, yeah, because they don't know. I mean, yeah,
Perfect stranger.
I think there's an inner conflict. Yeah, and I think there's an inner competition that you have with sometimes with your people. Like I think the people that you're cool with,
Hmm.
I don't know why, but for some reason, and I don't know if it's like a us thing, a black thing, or if it's just people in general. But it seems like when it comes down to your people, your friends, there's always that evaluation of who you are. I don't know if you've noticed for myself, like professionally, I've done okay, right? Um, I would say if you were to ask me if I'm making the type of money that I want to make, I will clearly tell you no. But as far as titles, as far as the industry in which I work in or what have you, I mean, could I be a prick about it? Yeah, and be like, yeah. I mean, and can I think I talk about myself as a big deal? Yeah. But if you ever notice, I typically minimize everything I do because I understand that nature, and it's a psychological thing within myself that I've always done. My mom has always done it, so I just that's how my family has always operated. So I do that. I just instinctively like I don't really talk about it. Like, I mean, if you were to look me up on LinkedIn and you were to see my profile, you'd be like, really? Because that's not how I carry myself. Now, if I'm in a professional setting, then yes, I mean, you're going to meet that fella that you see on LinkedIn. That's where you're going to see. In any if I know if it's a professional setting, that is how I'm going to carry myself. That's how I'm going to be, essentially. But in my day to day, because of what you're talking about, Chris. Yeah, I mean, because I just understand it. Like it just becomes an inner competition thing. Like I see it with like forget business, just in personal relationship. Like I've seen some of my friends I know rush into relationships because they're like, oh wait a minute, it's time.
The last chair.
You know what I mean? Like I'm the last one, and it's like, well, it shouldn't be about that. But I've seen people rush into things, try to make things work that are not clearly not working because it's like, oh, I got to do it. I can't be the only person that's not doing it. And it's like, well, so I think there's that inner competition that's oftentimes we evaluate ourselves based upon what we see. Like, you're not going to evaluate yourself next to Jay-Z because obviously Jay-Z is freaking Jay-Z, right? But you're going to evaluate yourself next to the people around you. If your buddy is just killing it, and you're working at Quiznos, I just thought
Mhm.
Quiznos was funny. When's the last time you seen the Quiznos? Anyways, you're working at Quiznos, right? It's gonna be like a thing of like, damn, dog, like I'm still out here making these sandwiches and he's doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I'll be honest with you. I mean, not to put people's businesses out there, but like I've evaluated people on this podcast who are doing certain things, and I'd be like, damn, dog, I need to do this, this, and that. me with my titles and whatever the case may be in the industry I work in and whatever. I mean, I can smooth with anybody and talk about anything, but it's like I've looked at some of us and I've been like, damn, dog, I wish I was doing that, or I wish I was doing this. I think there's always going to be an internal thing that will stop that support. That's why oftentimes I think networking is about. That's why networking is key, because you have to increase your circle, because your old circle is going to be your old circle. They're not going to understand necessarily where you're at. Like the fellas that you used to drink with and go to every Sunday Wednesday with are the same fellas that are going to look at you and be like, well, why does he get to own businesses?
Yeah.
Why does he get to work for this person? Why does he get to do this?
I think you're right. I mean, for me, I think it's more of or from what I see, is more of that inner beef of like, well, if I help them out, or not even help them out, if I like root them on or whatever, they're gonna jump fresh. And then I don't know, like I'm gonna be like, oh, good job, Chris, like you doing your thing. And then Chris gonna be like, eh. And you be like, shit. Well,
Get out of here,
Teach you how to stump, man.
Yeah.
I hurt you, man. I'll teach you how to stump.
Be like, well, fuck this guy. Like, I'm never supporting.
You might remember me from Cash Money back in the days. The only thing changed is the numbers on the range.
Yeah, basically. And then now you're over here just mad at life and mad at the culture and scarred for life and
mad at the culture. Damn. I hate the culture, man.
That's all it takes. Like, I mean, like, I know you guys heard it. Like, you deal with a black business, and then something goes wrong, and then somebody's like, "That's why I don't be dealing with black business." It's like, so this one person represents the whole culture, like, because that's how they.
I don't know why people do that.
I guess I look at it differently. I've always
that.
looked at that shit. So I look at it backwards. I look at it as like, if I see my friends doing cool ass shit, I want to support you, but I'm also gonna fucking destroy you too. Like, I want to do that, so let me get you too. Like, I'm gonna be your competition.
Yeah.
Like, well, what was that fucking show?
See, stealing t-shirts.
Black Clover. Black. Is it Black Clover? Is that what it is?
Black.
Like, I'm your enemy or whatever.
Anime?
I'm your. Black Clover. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And the two brothers were like enemies because they wanted to be better than each other.
That's my shit.
Like, that's how I look at things. Like, I don't want to be like, we could be friends, but let's make each other better because we're both attacking each other all the fucking time.
Exactly.
Like, I'm cool with that. Like, at the end of the day, I'll get a beer with you and we talk about it, but like, let's go smash it together. Like, let's knock this shit out. And you're gonna do better than me sometimes, and sometimes I might get you.
Right.
But that makes each other, like, it's like we're making each other better.
Exactly. You learn from each other. Like, okay, I got you right here because of X, Y, and Z, or I use this practice.
What if you're not getting better?
Race.
I think that mentality.
If you don't get better, you're a fuck nigga. What?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the mentality. I feel that it only works for certain people. I don't think that course of action is a universal thing. Like, I think that for some people,
it has to be.
No, it's not, bro. Because
it needs to be.
Like, what was
I don't
the thing?
necessarily
Like,
think so.
If you run with a
some
group
people
of
need
friends,
help,
right,
bro.
and you're the fastest person, you'll never get faster.
But that does help them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, bro. Not necessarily.
How not?
Because for instance, like, all right, like, let's just say if we're working, but we're not on the same playing field. Let's just say you may have an advantage that I don't have, right?
Right.
Until I am able to get on the same advantages, I'm never going to necessarily catch up. That is not just
bullshit.
a mentality.
True. Okay. So it might be like an audience thing. Like,
hold on.
Okay.
Like, what do you mean it's bullshit? Okay. That makes no sense. If you have more money than me and you start a business and I don't have the same money, how is it bullshit? There are many
people, because there are a lot of people that have more money than me. There are tons of people that have more money than me. But I can outweigh that with moving faster or doing something better than they can do. You just have to find their weakness. That's all it takes. If someone has more money, they're lazier. That's it.
So it's true, but it doesn't mute the fact that you start at different levels. Okay, like, I could have a bigger audience. I'm not saying that you have to catch up like this. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you see someone moving like this,
then you can slowly start moving up too. At some point, you're gonna have to touch each other, no matter how fast each other are going. At some point, because you're looking at this person and they're like doing all of these things. I'm not saying next week you're with that person. It might be 10 years from now. But as long as you keep moving because you see this person keep moving, like, yeah, he might just be a fucking monster. But as he's moving, you're going to start destroying other monsters he's destroying too.
Right.
I'm not saying you're going to be equal at some point, but you're still going to be better every time you look at this person. You might envy that person, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But at the same time, you're getting better. You're making more money. You're being strong. You're becoming stronger.
I just feel like that doesn't universally work. I just don't feel like that level of business friendship universally works for every situation. I think that for some they can handle that, but for some not. Some may need a more so consultative approach where it's like, okay, cool, I know what I know and I can help build that up and help you build that up, and then maybe we can compete, whatever the case may be. I think that there's different levels and tiers of how that works. Like, for instance, you've always tried to create that with me and Tim, and it's always been like a weird thing because like I see it, I recognize it, and I go, okay, whatever, that's just what he's doing. For me, I'm not in competition with you. I don't, because I feel like in general, like we do, and our aspirations are completely different. Like there's certain things I want to do, and whenever you're doing something that I would like to do or I want to know, I come to you and I ask you. But you have to understand that, like, for some, let's just say, for instance, like me and you are not in competition. I don't necessarily view or necessarily subscribe to that, me and you being in constant competition thing. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, right? But let's just say I don't subscribe to that, but I'm not necessarily confident in what I'm doing. And you're constantly like doing these little things, and it's like, okay, so now when I have the idea or whatever the case may be, and I want to come to you, right? And in all intents and purposes, the reason why you're creating that environment in order is to create an environment where we're all both getting better. Now, I'm not going to come to you because it's like you're the douchebag that keeps prodding the bear, so to speak. And you could create that.
Well, I look at that when you say prodding the bear. I look at that as like I don't really want to do this, but someone's pushing me to do something I really don't want to do. Like, because if something you want to do, you're gonna go do it, right? And if someone's like, if I'm prodding that bear, I'm helping you. In my mind, I'm helping you move forward. Like let's move.
100%. I understand exactly that's what you're doing. And I understand that's exactly what you feel that you're doing.
Me telling you to move,
some people view it better
100 times a day is like it doesn't work. But if I can prod you and move you a little bit, I go, okay, cool. Like even when we do the workout shit, and I like do what I do, it's like I just want you to move. Like I don't give a fuck what you're doing, just move. And that's how I see it. Like any movement is better than no movement at all.
But can you at least, I mean, and I'm gonna say this, and Tim, I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Can you at least agree that there is a universe where that does not work for everybody, and maybe we should gauge who we do that with?
What are we talking about here? Like, are you like the person that doesn't have any aspirations to do something? Like, yeah, okay.
No, because
if you have aspirations, you need it. I need it sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, people work differently, and we've always talked about this. Even with us, we even had a conversation about this where I was like, do you honestly think that we will work together again? Because I was just like, you have a certain level of expectation of how things work. Like I'm fully operational and functional in my space. I get things done in my space. It may not necessarily work in your space, but in my space, I'm kind of highly functional. You know what I mean? Like I do what needs to get done in my space. I've been able to do it. So when I bring my space into your space and we're trying to create our space, our synergy, like we butt heads, right? We butt heads and we've been like, okay, well, and there's all this action. I was like, well, no. I like to meticulously, at least, I'm analytic. So at least I like to analyze what's happening.
Right. And I told you, and at the same, you might see that as bumping heads. I see that as, yeah, I'm moving, but sometimes when you're talking, I'm slowing myself down for that because I need it. Like I need that voice of reason in my head, but I can't slow. Like sometimes I don't like slowing down because I feel like I'm losing momentum. But I also hear, hey, we need X, Y, and Z. So as I'm moving, I can create X, Y, and Z as I'm moving. So for me, I look at that situation as a good situation because sometimes I don't catch everything because I'm more focused on how do I make this to the next step? How do I move these things to make sure that we're moving instead of just staying still. Because if you stay still for too long, that momentum's dead and you don't want to do it no more. And like it just it falls apart.
So
Okay.
for me, it comes down to like a basic element of like, I don't know, I learned this maybe a couple of years ago when I was a team lead, and it's comes down to the motivation of like why you come to work, right? Like some people come because they actually feel like they're making an impact in the company. Some people just come because they need that check. Some people come
90%
because
of people
it's
come for
a
that check.
dang, it's you'd be surprised. Some people come because they're just looking for the next step. Like this is just the intro step to something else, something bigger that they want to do. So it's just something they have to go through. But I mean, like there's different reasons, different drivers. So I mean, like I to Mark's point, you can't just use one method as like being like that leadership person or the leadership. You can't drive the whole team with just one what was it called? One type of motivation. Yeah. One type of motivation to push your team to do something, because everybody's different. So everybody's going to need a little something different to get them to move. Somebody might need a little more white glove hand holding of, come on, this is how you do this. This is how you do this. Some people just need to know like the objective of what are we doing and why. Okay, I got it. Let's go. Like it's just you have to kind of know who's who to
Yeah.
keep them
And
going.
I agree with you, Tim, and you too, Mark. That one thing that I've had to learn is you can't tell everyone what to do, and you have to kind of put that ownership on other people to make them do what they want to do because they own that situation, right?
Yeah.
And yelling isn't the most appropriate way to solve a problem, or being angry isn't the most appropriate way to solve a problem.
100.
But
Definitely isn't.
trying to show someone like, hey, I want my team to have ownership in what they're doing so they move forward. And I don't like my job should be I should be worried about my job because my team is doing so well that it looks like I'm not doing shit at all.
Right.
That's how you should want to run shit. But
Yeah.
it takes a lot of learning,
Oh
and
yeah.
it takes a lot of understanding how people work. Like I also feel like with Mark and Tim, with you two guys, it's like I look at that a little differently than I look at other teams, right?
Mm.
Like with Mark anyway, like he saw me from fucking college, sophomore year of college, of this weird ass kid with a Iron Man MacBook. I
Team
never
Jordan's
talked in I never talked in any meeting. I never did shit. I just sat there and I just said, okay, I can do that. And like
He
to the person
lied,
that's like,
y'all. He lied.
huh?
He lied. I asked him a specific question. Can you do something? And he lied.
And I said yes, and what happened?
I did
Boom.
it. I did
Boom,
it.
baby.
I did it. That's what happened. I freaking did it. And we were already there. And I was like, well, I
One,
guess
Mark, I
moving,
really
right?
did a really good job at all that you asked me I could do. You make me better because I could do it, right? Anyways, it was a journey. So that's why I was like, it's hard for me like to like I see Mark in a different light and see Tim in a different light than I see a lot of other people because I was at a different position and we all grew up together. So that's the only reason I think I'm harder, or maybe you say my expectations are different because I see you guys differently. So that's why my
That's cool.
expectations are so different. And
I mean, like I said, I think it's all about. I think I don't know what you said, but anyway, I think it's all about synergies and creating synergies. And I think some dynamics are what they are. Like for me, I'll say this. The reason why I said a lot of the things I said in that conversation, and the reason why my stance is what it is because I also understand from the perspective of someone like yourself, where I've been you in that situation. I typically didn't like it, so I now do what I do. But I understand that if you're constantly putting out emitting energy at a very high rate, and that energy is not being emitted back to you, you run on fumes and you burn out. And that is one of the things that's the real reason why I brought that up, because it's like, okay, to speak on it, like there's a block and there's always a block that hits. At the end of the day, for me, like I do what I do. Like I'm at the point now where I deal with high A types all the time. I manage high A types all the time. And, starting from that opportunity, which we were working on, to now my own professional life, I could deal with high level, high energy A types that need everything now in 2 seconds. Like I could deal with that. I understand that. Typically speaking, I give them what I give them, but when I give it to them, but it's usually immaculate. So people usually shut up. They usually go, okay, well, can't really say anything about that. Okay, cool. And that's typically the strategy I've always used, right? What I've always noticed is that there's always that moment where the A types hit the brick wall. And it's like, because the energy is not necessarily being reciprocated and they're necessarily holding it back. And that is always the thing that, I say for us back in the day, like for us now, I think we have an understanding of how each other work. But back in the day, that was the point of frustration, where it's like, and that was the synergy point I was trying to create, where it's like, okay, we have to create a situation where there's an understanding, right? I need to understand that I need to admit at this rate, this is the minimum that is acceptable for you, so you can continue to keep going. You need to understand that I'm only going to admit that. And then maybe I will gradually over time maybe increase, but at least I can guarantee you this. Because at the end of the day, we have to keep the wheels turning, essentially. Does that make sense? I was basically saying it without giving too many details. So I was using a lot of general terms and like stupid analogies.
No, but I get it.
I guess not. Okay. All right. Anyways.
I get it. I mean, it's like, for me, it simply put, it's like the cog wheels, right? If one's just going and going, the other one gives out, like that one's gonna get overworked, and it just fucks up the system, like Chris said earlier. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Well, I think about all the leaders that I've always seen, and the ones that I try to emulate are the ones that have the high energy, because they make everything look like it's possible, and they turn nothing into something. Like if you just watch them when they walk into a room, like their energy just lights people up. Like they come in there like let's get it done, and they're working with you, and it's crazy just watching those people. And it's like the energy that's the kind of energy, like I was like, if I could run a team, like I want that energy. I want to give people that same like motivation, just me walking into a room. Yeah. It's just like, let's get things done. Like we can do this because we're built for this kind of shit. Yeah, it sucks, but when it gets done, oh man. And those are the type of people I look at and I go, oh shit, that's what it takes. And sure. I've never met anyone that had a low energy level, or kind of procrastinated or waited, or did things a certain way. Like their teams are always slower. They're always slower. They might be efficient, but they're not getting awards at the end of the day. Like no one goes, hey guys, we like that team over there that's just not being seen. But you see the team that's like, yeah. Everyone sees that team, whether they're doing shit or not. We see them. And that's what I think. And we're in this era now, like where you don't really even have to do shit. You just got to be seen now. You have to look like you're doing shit, and that's all it takes now.
True. But my counterpart to you is that for you as the leader that's doing that, right? That's pushing the wheel and keeping it going. What happens if you're doing all that and it's all the parades and the sis boom ba and the fireworks, and your team is essentially not operating to where you like it to be? And that's what, so let's say if you're the spark plug, right, and you're pushing things going, but you're not necessarily reciprocating that energy, right? I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there's not a level of responsibility that falls on your team, or maybe you need to switch and move or find yourself a new team. But let's just say if you're in a position where you're trying to work or whatever, and you're constantly doing it, you eventually get to a point where it's just like either you do A, I'm just going to do it myself, or B, you just get burnt out. And
It depends on what you. It
essentially,
depends on what you're doing. Sometimes it's like, is this person dead weight? Does this person matter? Can I do this without this person? Do I need to interchange this person with someone else? Like, you go through a bunch of different things you can do. If this person's a necessity, you figure out how to make it work. If it's
but
not, then
if you're,
it's dead
but
weight.
is that
Get
not
rid of it.
but is that not an energy killer though?
Nah, hell nah. You look at that and go, that's dead weight. Get rid of it. Or you look at it like, I need that person. So what do I do to make this person catch up?
Well,
You know, what motivates this person to move? Like, that's what Tim was going, but what do I need to do to motivate this person to get on the same page I'm on, to make them excited about coming to do what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
okay. Well, listen, I'm more supposed to be speaking to the driving force of how that motivates you to continue to be a spark plug. To speak candidly, the conversation we were having in regards to that was about the fact that, you know, we were hitting these brick walls, and we're hitting these brick walls because energy wasn't being matched. So I was just like, well, I mean, we have to get to a level of understanding that I'll aspire, I'll try to work, but my energy level, my outtake is only going to be at this point. And we can figure out what you like. We can have the conversation
Are you
about
talking about
what
for
you
us?
need to
Is that what
see.
you're saying for us?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. In general,
for us, I look at that situation as like, if it's anything that, like, with everyone here, I like to be in your corner. Like, whatever idea you guys got, I'm like, yeah, let's rock with it. Let's do it. Now, if I'm rocking with your idea harder than you're rocking with your idea, then yeah, I'm going to take a step back. It doesn't make sense for me because I don't even know what you're trying to do. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
no, but what
But
I'm
if it's
talking about,
my
in general,
idea
but
and it's like people aren't matching my energy, I I look at it and I go, dude, how much do I need this person, or can I outsource this person? Like, if you feel like it's a brick wall because you don't hear about it again, it's not a brick wall. It's just I'm outsourcing myself. Like this, you become that dead weight. And I go, well,
well,
I can
no,
shed it.
well, I'm not talking about specifically like when we were having that conversation. It was more a philosophical conversation about working in teams and controlling our teams. And I was just basically, it was a situation of me just
Let's
calling
take this
out and saying,
podcast. Let's take this podcast as an example. That's the best example we can do because we're all doing it. We've had issues. What do? We have to talk about it, right? At the end of the day, we talk about our issues, and is either A, we're gonna stop this shit, or B, we go, how do we adjust and keep moving forward? Uh,
Yeah.
all the difficulties we've had with certain situations, like Mark, you've gone above and beyond with the Facebook posting and all that shit, right? Like, you took ownership of a situation and you ran with that motherfucker, like crazy ran with that motherfucker. Like, we all gave you your ideas, but you ran with that bitch. So for me, that's like energy for me that goes, fuck, I gotta step my game up. Like, that's how I look at this shit. There's a competition. I gotta step my
okay,
shit up. That's
what
just
if
how
you
I
do?
see those things.
I
I
was
fucked
messing
up.
with you.
I can tell you right now, last week was a motherfucker for me. But
Well,
when I see that though, I look at that and I go, fuck, how do I step my game up?
I hear you, but what I was talking about more so is the sense that there has to be a balance. And what I'm saying the balance is that you're not always going to have that spark. You may not always be able to maneuver that person or get rid of that person. That person may just be on your team. HR may not let you fire them. Even if it's your company or not, your HR department may not let you fire them. You might have to do X, Y, and Z. You might have to
cause the
figure out.
least damage.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. But sometimes, as people, and when we're talking about this, and I feel this is a very good conversation to have because there's A-type people all the time, and there's people that are going to hear that, and they're going to hear exactly what you're saying, and they're going to be like, "That Mark nigga is tripping. That lazy motherfucker. You need to go ahead and do like Chris is right because he's pushing and he's putting the energy behind it, right?" And there's going to be people who hear what I'm saying and say, "Well, maybe we should slow down. Maybe we should figure it out." I feel like there has to be a sense because you're necessary. Your type is necessary. You are correct. People like yourself push projects, usually get things done. They create the level of expectancy, so on and so forth. I can be that person. I typically shy away from it. I only typically do that when I feel like I have to, right? When the sense of urgency is created for whatever reason, right? But you naturally do that, right? So that's a talent in and of itself. One of the things I've seen over the course of time, though, I've seen people like yourself burn out because you're not receiving that. There's not necessarily like a balance of like, okay, maybe I should shift my level of expectancy. At the end of the day, right, we need to get shit done. And we need someone like you to get shit done, to push things, get shit done. But sometimes people like yourself need to take a step back and go, okay, well, all right, like you said, the point of less resistance, or the point of that's going to give the maximum output. Okay, listen, is this a scenario where I have to just like maybe adjust the due date, maybe adjust what's going on? And you've done it over the course of time. I only bring up this conversation because, like, since we had that conversation, Chris, I've noticed you've actively gone, okay, all right, let me understand what's going on, right? And even when our interactions, and maybe you don't understand why I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, we've gotten on the phone a lot more often to just kind of talk these things out. And there's a point of, okay, I understand it. All right, cool. You've done that. But the reason why I'm like harping on it is because I feel like there's a valuable lesson in and of itself where, like, you know, you can be the A type, you can push whatever, but there's also those points where you have to kind of go, okay, am I almost being inefficient now because I'm hitting roadblocks? Or like, do I have to like kind of adjust my expectancy? Because, you know, when you have these expectancies, you have to hit these goals, and you're not hitting them, it does something to you. And essentially, you're the engine, you're the spark. So if your level lowers because you're not necessarily getting what you need, the whole project lowers. The due dates suffer. Multiple due dates and future projects suffer. Or maybe you move, or, you know, you move yourself, or whatever the case may be. And I've had many people that I've worked with where I see it and I go, okay, well, you're gonna, because I'm an endurance fellow. Like, I'm gonna be around. You're not gonna fire me. You're not gonna do whatever. My work is always gonna be done to a point where things are gonna do X, Y, and Z. I've always been that. And I've seen a scenario where I've outlasted the guy who's just the A type, go, 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 because at the end of the day, when he hits the snag, he doesn't know how to deal with it. He doesn't know how to deal with like bumping his head. You can't, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't know how to deal with that scenario that he can't just push past or push through. It's like, oh shit, it's new. What did I do? And I guess that's what I was talking about.
I mean, now here's the only thing, I guess, for me anyway, is like I have my low points where I'm like, ugh, this sucks, and I gotta take a step back. Like, I have those days, but like I love this shit so much. Like if I'm not doing this shit, I get anxiety attacks and shit. Like if I'm not trying to figure some shit out, like I hurt on the inside of my body. So it's something different for me. It's like, yeah, I gotta take a step back. I gotta recalibrate and I gotta do all that shit. But I'm like, I love doing this shit. Like I love coming up with an idea and trying to make that shit a reality. And when it happens, I'm like, oh shit, we did it. Like the first time we made a t-shirt, or the first time we threw a party and that shit actually happened, regardless of how many people came, like that was a fucking idea. and it came.
It was
to
a random
fucking
idea.
life.
It was a random idea.
In my mind, like that was the best feeling I've ever had. And I try to recreate that all the fucking time.
No, I feel you on that. Like that's why I love technology, because it's just like pure innovation of like your literal thought, your little thoughts into something that somebody can actually use and interact with, and I feel
That's
that.
what I was like.